And folks, when news breaks out, we break in. It's Mike Church here with you on the Crusade Radio Network. President Trump is live in Warren, Michigan. He just left the National Guard Air Base right down the road where with Governor Whitmer, he announced that the United States military is going to build 22 new F-22s that are going to fly out of, I think it's Shelter Air Force Base or National Guard Center, which has been around since World War I, since like 1915, and that the entirety of the base will remain open. It's not going to close. And there was a big news there. Governor Gretchen Whitmer, the Democrat, was actually there, greeted him when he got off of Air Force One, actually got into the Beast and rode with him to the event where Trump said that we're going to employ lots of people here in Michigan, and we're going to build this aircraft here, and it's going to fly out of this base, which apparently is either the most or one of the most northernmost bases, air bases in the United States. So it was with great fanfare. Secretary Hegseth was there with him, who said a couple of words, and the leader of the Michigan, I believe it was the Michigan Senate, the Republican leader of the Michigan Senate, was there, who spoke as well. And now Trump has made his way to the Macomb County, Michigan Sports Expo Center, where he's on time for a change, and he is set to deliver his remarks on the accomplishments of his first 100 days in office here. I'm your host, Mike Church, and if you enjoy the programming that we provide for you here on the Mike Church Show on the Crusade Radio Network, please go to our website at crusadechannel.com/donate. Leave us a donation, subscribe to the channel, become a Founders Pass member, use our chat rooms, and don't forget we have the big contest coming up that starts Friday, the Win a Pound of Gold contest. That's right, an actual real pound of gold. We're going to give it away on May 23rd. Your chance to win tickets on air begins this Friday, May 1st, but you can also go and purchase as many as you want. I'll tell you all about that on the show tomorrow, Mike Church Show, 11 a.m. Central to 2 p.m. Eastern at crusadechannel.com. Now, live to Warren, Michigan, President Trump, 100th day.
Because of our tax and tariff policy, they're coming from all over the world. They're coming up and they're opening up plants and they're talking to us all day and all night. They want to get here and they're coming in at levels you've never seen before. And I want to thank the auto workers for your support. That was great. But I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. And we're here tonight in the heartland of our nation to celebrate the most successful first 100 days of any administration in the history of our country, and that's according to many, many people. This is the best, they say, 100-day start of any president in history, and everyone is saying it. We've just gotten started. You haven't even seen anything yet. It's all just kicking in. And week by week, we're ending illegal immigration. We're taking back our jobs and protecting our great American auto workers and all of our workers, frankly. We're protecting all of our workers. We're restoring the rule of law, which was sort of out the window with this crazy guy we had. How the hell did that guy ever become president? Could somebody explain to me? How the hell did that happen? There's my friend, Blacks for Trump. I like that guy. He follows me. He follows me. We love you. Your whole group has been so supportive over the years. I want to thank you. Everyone thinks I pay you a fortune. I don't know. I don't even know who the hell he is. I just like him. It's true. Thank you very much. Thank all of the fellas. Thank them all. But we're ending the inflation nightmare, the worst that we've had probably in the history of our country, getting woke lunacy and transgender insanity the hell out of our government. We're stopping the indoctrination of our children, slashing billions and billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse. And above all, we're saving the American dream. We're making America great again, and it's happening fast, too. What the world has witnessed in the past 14 weeks is a revolution of common sense. That's all it is, really. We're conservative. You're conservative, you're liberal, whatever the hell. You know what it's all about? It's about common sense when you think about it. We're for common sense. We like strong borders. We like good education. We like low interest rates. We like being able to buy a beautiful car. And now deduct the interest on the loan. That's never happened before. We want a strong military. We want low taxes. You know, the Democrats, they campaign on, we will raise your taxes. It's the first time. You know, I haven't been doing this that long, actually, compared to a lot of people. They've been doing it for a long time. They say, you became president. I can't get out of Congress, or some of them can't even get into Congress. But, you know, I haven't been doing it that long, but all my life I've been watching. And I've never heard people campaigning that they're going to raise taxes. It's always been, we will reduce your taxes, Democrat, Republican. Now they go, we're going to raise your taxes. If our bill doesn't pass, the Republicans, we have 100% just about Republican support, but it would be nice if we had just a couple of Democrats just to make sure, because, you know, every once in a while you have a grandstander Republican. We have some grandstanders. But every once in a while, not many, but remember who those grandstanders were and vote them the hell out of office, okay? Will you do that? Vote them out of office. You know, they do it they're morally bound. You know what the answer is? If you don't get it, you're going to have the highest tax increase in history instead of the greatest tax cut in history. If the Democrats prevail on this bill, you get a 58% tax increase. Would you like that? These are the Democrats. But I've never seen all the years they campaign, we will raise your taxes. I say, this country has gone crazy. And today they did it again. Some guy that I'd never heard of. John James, is he a congressman, this guy? He said, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to start the impeachment of Donald Trump. What the hell did I do? Here we go again. They want to impeach me. This lunatic, he was up. Actually, I had the television way down, and I said to our great First Lady, listen, did I just hear I was being impeached again? We're getting good at this, though. No, they've gone totally crazy. These people, and you know what? They've totally lost their confidence, too. They can't even tell a lunatic like this dumb guy that said it. And then you have the other one that's always with the cane. He's always impeaching. He raises his cane. He always impeaches. But they have no control over those people. They have no control. And the reason is they've lost their confidence. They have no confidence anymore as a party. They have no candidates. And, you know, when they say that Bernie's probably the best they have. By the way, he's about 7 years older than me, more. 8 years older. One thing I got to give him credit, he's a lunatic, but he's still pretty sharp. And he's going around with AOC +3. You know, the +3 follow him. They hang on for little bits. They hang on for nuggets. And they get crowds. They say, our crowds are so much bigger than their crowds. Their crowds are small. If I ever had a crowd like their biggest crowd, they'd say it's over for Trump. He's lost the magic. But this is great, and all the people outside, we love you. We put screens up. We're taking back our country from a sick political class that got rich selling America out and bleeding America dry. We don't let that happen anymore. And we had 4 great years. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. The stock market went up 88%. We did great. And we're going to do better now, because now we learned a little bit. After years of leaders who sent your money to defend the borders of distant foreign nations, that's what we did. We'd fight for other nations, but not for ourselves. You finally have a president who is defending our borders and our nation. After decades of politicians who destroyed Detroit to build up Beijing, you finally have a champion for workers in the White House, and instead of putting China first, I'm putting Michigan first, and I'm putting America first. After a lifetime of unelected bureaucrats stealing your paychecks, attacking your values, and trampling your freedoms, we are stopping their gravy train, ending their power trip, and telling thousands of corrupt, incompetent, and unnecessary deep state bureaucrats, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. You're fired. Get out of here. In 100 days, we have delivered the most profound change in Washington in nearly 100 years. I read an editorial today that this is the most consequential presidency in history. How about that? And it wasn't even by a group that would normally be supporting us. It was a group of people that I think they tend to be on the liberal side, but they said it's the most important election. The November 5th, it changed it all. You have to see, when you hear some of these numbers, but that is the most consequential election that we've ever had in our country. And what a nice thing. I'm going to start again subscribing to that particular paper. Even if I don't read it much, I'm going to subscribe. But it was a very nice compliment, especially from them. They know who I'm talking about. We're ushering out the long reign of special interests and the radical left lunatics, and we're ushering in the golden age of America. That's what we have. Right? Front row Joe. Look at you, front row Joes. I miss you guys. I miss the campaign. You haven't changed. You've lost a couple of pounds. Oh, he's probably getting to one of those jabbers. You've lost a couple of pounds. You look good. And I have Mr. Wall here. This guy. How many rallies have you gone to? Like hundreds, and we love him here. The Wall. One day I'm going to get that suit and I'm going to wear it on stage. We appreciate it, fellas. Great. Thank you. You know, we have a group of ladies, I don't know if they're here, but we have a group of women from North Carolina, a large group, like 50 of the most beautiful women, and they've been to 129 rallies. They're happily married, I think, too. They just keep going to rallies all the time. But they're great. North Carolina, where we won by big numbers. Nowhere has this transformation been more dramatic than our southern border. You have seen a change on your southern border that Sleepy Joe said couldn't happen. Sleepy Joe, the worst president in history, said it couldn't happen. The last administration engineered a massive border invasion, allowing gangs, cartels, and terrorists to infiltrate our communities and rape and murder our citizens, and that is being nice about it. That's actually being nice about it. They are the worst. But standing before you today, I can proudly report that this heinous betrayal is over and that we have achieved the most secure border in American history by far. In American history. For 2 months in a row, we have now set all-time records, and this is by the media, the fake news media, which most of it is fake. We've set all-time records for the lowest number of illegal border crossings ever recorded. Think of that, ever recorded. The number of illegal border crossers released into the United States is down, listen to this please, 99.999%. Think of that, 99.999. 3 people got in. 3. And I got angry as hell at Tom Homan. How did you allow 3, Tom? I called up Christy. Christy Noem's doing a great job, Tom Homan. I said, how did you allow 3 people? No, they allowed a few in for medical reasons. They had a couple of, were very sick. The ones that got in were really very sick, and we had to take care of them, but it was a few people. But 3 people got in versus hundreds of thousands in the last administration. Hundreds of thousands a month were pouring in. Biden had no control. Thank goodness he appointed a great border czar, right? Kamala. She was a great candidate. She was fantastic. Joe Biden was down 35 points. The debate was not a good one for him. He said, you know, if I didn't debate, I could have gone all the way. He was down 35 points, and they decided to replace him. Nothing ever happens like what happens to me. It never happens to anybody else. I had to beat two candidates. So he's down. This is like you're in a fight. Dana White, the UFC, you're in a fight, and you're just beating the guy so badly, and they say, oh, let's put in another fighter. That's what happened. And I knew nothing about her. She was vice president, but nobody knew a damn thing about her. She had nothing to do with the border, even though she was appointed border czar. The great people, all of the great people, Paul and all of the border patrol people, they never spoke to her. They never heard about her. For 4 years, she never called. But there's never been such a difference in anything as the difference between the border today and the border what it was just 6 months ago. So I want to say congratulations, America. It's about time. If we had not won the 2024 election, oh, does that sound good, right? We won the 24, all that work. The radical left Democrats would right now be importing the next 10 million invaders and giving amnesty to 30 or 40 million illegals, many of them criminals, many of them frankly, murderers and people of crime at the absolute highest level. Real bad people. It would only be a matter of years or months until America itself became a failed third world nation. That was happening to us. We were going to be a third world nation. I'll tell you what, if these guys won, if this group of radical lunatics, and by the way, you know, Biden, we find out that whoever operated the auto pen was the real president, and Biden knew nothing about it. You know, he had a group of radical left guys who were very smart, and a woman, a particular woman. Very smart people. These are not stupid people. These are sick people, but they're not stupid people. And they were very smart. What they're best at is cheating at election. They cheat on elections. That's their single greatest trait. They cheat like hell. And let me tell you, they tried to cheat on this election, but we made it too big to rig. Remember? Too big to rig. They tried. I watched those numbers. We had Elon with us. Elon is a smart guy. Elon was with us. Elon Musk. And I was sitting with Dana White and Elon Musk, and I'm watching the numbers in Pennsylvania, and we're winning so easily. Then all of a sudden it flatlined. And I said, you know, I think they're cheating again. Look at this. What's going on? I think they're cheating again. And Elon looked at us. He goes, no, you're going to win. They just don't know it yet. And about 15 minutes later, we won, you know, sort of crazy. I'll never forget. You're going to win. They just don't know it yet. But you know what? We made it too big to rig. It was too big. Starting on day one, I deployed the U.S. military to defend our country from the invasion of our border. I shut down all migrant flights. Do you remember when we're talking about people coming in, they're trying to deny it, okay? So people are flowing in. They say, no, I don't see any people. It's like, what's wrong? But then we saw airplanes going overhead. We said, what the hell are those airplanes doing? Big Boeing 757s were traveling right overhead, loaded up with people. I say, where the hell are those planes going? They were loaded up with migrants coming in illegally, flying in by plane, paid for by the U.S. government. I'll tell you, they are sick. Remember that day? That was the day we found out that not only do we have to defend it here, we have to defend it not only in the water, but we have to defend it in the air. The planes were going over us. I said, what the hell is that? I banned all welfare to illegals, and I signed an order that will end automatic citizenship for the children of illegal aliens. No citizenship. For years, Joe Biden and the media told us that stopping the flood of illegal immigration was absolutely impossible. He said it was impossible. He didn't know what the hell anybody was talking about. He said it was impossible, that the president had no power to stop what was needed in the form of legislation. He needed legislation. He had no power to get it. But it turned out that all we needed was a new president. Within days of taking office, I signed the Laken Riley Act. Laken Riley, beautiful Laken Riley, who was killed by an illegal immigrant, viciously, violently killed. But I signed the Laken Riley Act to facilitate the expulsion of dangerous criminal aliens, and when necessary, we had to put them in jail. We couldn't take a chance that they'd come back in again. In recent weeks, ICE, who are great, these people are great, has arrested dozens of child rapists along with murderers, kidnappers, drug traffickers, and thieves, and frankly, people from mental institutions. We've designated 6 murderous Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. We have also designated 2 bloodthirsty transnational gangs, MS-13 and Trendiaragua, TDA. They've been designated the highest level of terrorists, and that lets us do a lot of things that you wouldn't be able to do. We got to get them out of here before they kill more people. They've killed plenty. My administration has increased arrests of known and suspected terrorists by 655%. Is that okay? We tried to get it higher. We tried to get it higher, but the courts are giving us a hard time. Can you believe? You know, I won on the basis of, I think the number one thing was on illegal immigration, the border, the people pouring across our border that are from all over the world. They're unbelievably bad, in many cases, unbelievably bad people. I think that was the number one thing. And now the courts are trying to say that, you know, that doesn't matter. I don't think it's going to be allowed to stand. Democrats have vowed mass invasion and mass migration. We are delivering mass deportation, and it's happening very fast. And the worst of the worst are being sent to a no-nonsense prison in El Salvador. Why don't you watch this? Watch this. Take a look. President Trump, America is a dumping ground for criminals no longer. They're not even trying to come in. But while we're fighting to protect Americans, the radical left Democrats, who are so bad for this country, are fighting to protect TDA, you just saw that, and MS-13 criminals, and you don't even know which is worse, but they are the top of the line. For years, Democrat politicians did not raise one word of protest as American women and girls were raped and slaughtered by these monsters. They were raped and slaughtered by numbers that you don't even want to hear about. But the second we try to deport them, the radical Democrat Party is racing to the defense of some of the most violent savages on the face of the earth. Who the hell would vote for these people? They're racing to the courts to help them, but this is not what the people want. This is not what they voted for in record numbers. I won the election. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote. And we got 312 electoral college votes. And just this month, 2 Venezuelan members of TDA, Nicaragua, were arrested in Washington state for kidnapping a 58-year-old woman driving a power drill through her hand to extort her bank account information, shooting her, leaving her for dead. And miraculously, she just survived, but she's not feeling so well. In January, Nicaragua member in Chicago kidnapped 3 women, took them in an alley, lined them up, and shot them each in the head. They all died. And the FBI recently assessed that these vicious gangs have been sent by the foreign regime in Venezuela to foment violence and instability in the United States of America. Can't let that happen. And it's not just, in all fairness, not Venezuela. It's all over the world. It's all over. They come in from the Congo. They come in from Africa. The Congo, they've emptied out their prisons into our country. But they come from Africa, Asia, South America. They come from all over bad parts of Europe. That's why we've invoked the Alien Enemies Act to expel every foreign terrorist from our soil as quickly as possible. Never forget the same people that we now claim we're just not taking this crap anymore. We can't. They're claiming that we're not allowed to deport illegals. And they're the ones who orchestrated an 8-year campaign to jail their political opponents. Do you know what I mean? They want to jail. They want to jail. That's all they can do, jail their political opponents. What they did to people is a disgrace. And now they come after us. Why are you not nice to them? Why are you not nice to them? They tried to jail your president. They tried to jail. Except for the really courageousness of a few very good judges, you know, we could have been calling you from the other side of the bar saying, hey, fellows, how about a little protest? How about a little protest? But they cheered the assassination of CEOs, looted our cities, and destroyed our property. No, they tried to jail our politicians, and they tried to jail a lot of people, many of whom didn't even know what the hell they were being looked at for. These people are criminals. If they had their way, we would be living in a third world hellhole. That's what they want. Removing the invaders is not just a campaign pledge. It's my solemn duty as Commander-in-Chief. I have an obligation to do it. Save our country. And that's why we got, despite the fake polls, you know, they do these polls where they interview far more Democrats than Republicans. I saw them over the last few days, and I had them checked out. They interview far more Democrats for the polls. They interview Democrats by big numbers and then Republicans by small. They say, Trump only has a 44% approval rating. Well, it's actually not bad. But when you figure that if it were a legit poll, it would be in the 60s or 70s. These people are a bunch of crooked people. No, they interview more Democrats than Republicans. In other words, they take the poll and they interview Democrats, they poll Democrats, and then they say, they try and depress it as much, just like they write bad stories. 97% of the stories written about me, think of it, were negative, and yet we won in a landslide because they have no credibility. And also, we cannot allow a handful of communist, radical left judges to obstruct the enforcement of our laws and assume the duties that belong solely to the President of the United States. Judges are trying to take away the power given to the President to keep our country safe, and it's not a good thing. But I hope, for the sake of our country, that the Supreme Court is going to save this, because we have to do something. These people are just looking to destroy our country. Nothing will stop me in the mission to keep America safe again. It's very simple. Keep America safe again. And our first 100 days have also produced historic results in the battle to defeat Biden's inflation disaster and bring jobs and wealth back to America, and bring them back to Michigan, okay? We want to bring them back. As an example, since I took office, the cost of eggs is down 87%. Now, right? You remember a few weeks ago, before Thanksgiving, before we heard about it, I heard about it a long time ago. Before Thanksgiving, I heard about it. And then I was hearing that I wasn't president. This guy was barely president. Nobody knew, was he president? Who the hell was president? To this day, I say it was the one that operated the auto pen, but what do I know? But I was hearing about eggs, and then all of a sudden we have a great election victory. And my first week in office, they start screaming at me, "What about the price of eggs? Eggs, eggs." I said, "I've only been here for 6 days. I was there 6 days." I said, "What's wrong with eggs?" They said, "The price of eggs has gone through the roof, and you won't be able to have them for Easter." So I put a very capable Brooke Rollins, who's our wonderful Commissioner of Agriculture that you know in Michigan. I said, "Brooke, I've only been here 6 days before I heard, maybe even less, maybe 5, maybe 4. But it was my first week. And I said, Brooke, you got to save me here. I'm getting killed about eggs. What the hell's going on with eggs?" She said, "Well, you can't get them. The price is through the roof, and it looks like we're going to have a real problem for Easter. You're not going to have eggs." I said, "Brooke, that doesn't sound politically viable to me. That doesn't sound good. Because nobody's going to believe me when you get out there that it's Sleepy Joe Biden's fault. So, Brooke, you got to get going, Brooke, please." And she did a great job. And you had so many eggs for Easter, and your price was down 87% from that point. Prices are coming way down. You know, the fake news doesn't say it. They said, he pledged. Now, I pledged safe borders. I pledged all sorts of things. But they said, he pledged to bring prices down. Well, that's what I've done. They're trying to say the prices have gone up. Your energy, your car, your gasoline, they have 3 states this week, a couple of days ago, that were $1.98 a gallon. So gasoline prices are down by a lot. Energy prices are down. Mortgage rates actually just went down. Prescription drug prices just saw their largest monthly decline ever recorded. How about that? Remember what you heard. Prescription drug prices just took the biggest plunge ever since they've recorded the prices, which have basically gone up, except for my 4 years. They did pretty well. But we got to know that system. The system is a bad system. But they just took the biggest dive ever in the history of prescription drug prices. Think of that. That's a big thing. I got to say it again and again, because they will never tell you that. The fake news will never tell you that. Grocery prices have gone down. Everything's gone down. And yet I saw this person on MSDNC, which I think is probably even worse than CNN. It's probably worse. Probably worse than CNN. But I saw this horrible, horrible anchor. How these people get jobs. I wouldn't hire them to do the most menial of chores. But I saw this person. He campaigned on bringing prices down. Every price has gone down. What am I going to do? I mean, think of it. Gasoline was almost $4 not so long ago. And now, Mike, we just hit $1.98 in a lot of states. Think of it. And they're saying, and you know what? And inflation is basically down. And interest rates came down despite the fact that I have a Fed person who's not really doing a good job. But I won't say that. I want to be very nice. I want to be very nice and respectful to the Fed. You're not supposed to criticize the Fed. You're supposed to let him do his own thing. But I know much more than he does about interest rates, believe me. Core inflation has reached the lowest rate in 4 years. And last month, we had the largest drop in consumer prices since the pandemic. This is all done in 100 days. Think of that. This is all done in 100 days. But when you watch the fake news, you see fake polls. Again, they poll more Democrats than Republicans. Democrats aren't going to say, I'm going to vote for Trump. And we still got 45, 44%. But on the legitimate polls, I think we're in the 60s. I think we're in the 60s or 70s or something. In 3 months, we have created 350,000 jobs. Think of that. For the first time in recent memory, job gains for native-born Americans now exceed job gains for foreign workers. This is for the first time, and nobody even knows when, Americans now are doing better than foreign workers. How about that? I mean, that's okay. I want everyone to do well, but that's okay. And to curb inflation, we're cutting a record number of job-killing regulations. We beat in the 4-year first administration, which was a tremendous success. We cut more regulations than any president in history, including 2-term presidents, including Roosevelt, who was more than a 2-term president. We cut more regulations than any president in history in 1 term, and now our 2nd term. And, you know, I don't know why. It was so important to win because they used to say, the fake news, to be a great president, you have to serve 2 terms. So now we're going to serve 2 terms. Now they've taken that one. Cross. Right? Right, Dr. Oz? Cross that one off. Cross that one off. No, they say it all the time. When I was out, they say, well, they go out through. Thank you. Thank you. Sure. But we've ended the radical left. Well, we actually already served 3, but if you count. But remember, I like the victories. I like the 3 victories, which we absolutely had. I just don't like the results of the middle term, the results. I don't want those results, John. I don't want those results. What results? What a disgrace. If we would have had this group for another year, we wouldn't have a country left. I really mean it. I don't think we would have had a country left. And now we're respected all over the world. They're coming from all over the world to see you, President. They're coming from India. They're coming from France. They're coming from Spain. Yeah, they're coming from China, too. Yeah, they're coming from China. They're coming from all over the world to see you, President. They want to make a deal. They want to make a deal. And, you know, we'll make deals, but we don't have to. We are the ones that have the product. We are the ones at the United States. They want a piece of our product. We can just set the price. But I want to be respectful and I want to be nice. But if it takes too long, I'll just set a price. Say, you could buy or you don't have to buy. We lost, think of this, we lost billions and billions of dollars a day. Billions, not millions, billions of dollars a day. And under Sleepy Joe Biden. What's better, Crooked Joe or Sleepy Joe? Ready? A poll, a free poll. Because these pollsters are so corrupt. This is a real poll. We're going to poll Crooked Joe or Sleepy Joe. Ready? What's a better name for us to call him? Sleepy Joe? Or Crooked Joe? I'm not surprised. This happens. I sort of loved Sleepy Joe. You know, it just had a nice ring to it. Because he had one ability I didn't have. He goes to the beach, right? And he could fall asleep on a cottage drooling out of the side of his mouth. And he'd be sleeping within minutes, carrying the aluminum chair, you know, the kind that's meant for old people and children to carry. It weighs like about 4 ounces. And he couldn't get his feet out of the sand. And he'd sleep, he'd fall on this thing, and he'd have, he's president, so you'd have cameras. He'd be in a bathing suit. Somebody convinced him that he looks great in a bathing suit. He's 82 years old. Cary Grant didn't look great in a bathing suit when he was 82. You don't look great. At some point you have other assets, okay? But that's not right. But he'd go and he'd walk in the sand and he'd fall into that thing, and within seconds he was sleeping. I'd be tossing and turning and scheming and thinking and saying, how am I going to beat China? How am I going to stop the war with Russia and Ukraine? This guy could fall asleep with cameras blazing, right? Not too many cameras were blazing, but enough were blazing that you saw it. I thought it was a great ability that he had, actually. We've ended the radical left war on American energy. We've stopped their crusade on coal. Did you see what I did the other day? Clean, beautiful coal. I said, you're not allowed to use the word coal unless you say clean, beautiful coal. So you have guys getting up, Department of Energy. We have great people at Department of Energy. They talk about clean, beautiful coal. China uses coal. They're opening up a coal plant every week, a massive coal plant. But we're not allowed to use it. But now we are, because last week I gave it absolute, total approval. And you know what I don't give approval to? Those stupid windmills that go round and round and round. And we've ended the Green New scam. We've reopened ANWR, the greatest drilling site anywhere in the world, in Alaska, and implemented the new energy policy of the United States. You know what it is? We have a policy. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill. That's our policy. That's our policy, Michael, right? Great Michael Whatley, head of the Republican Party. He's done a good job. Him and Laura, they took the party by storm, right? He had a good candidate, but had a couple of good candidates, didn't he? Michael's been incredible, actually. Michael Whatley, North Carolina. He watched in 2020. He did so good for me, and he was in North Carolina. He did so great. What's the problem over there? What's the problem? Is that a radical left lunatic? He's just a child. All right, get him out. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, ma'am. I thought it was a guy. Thank you. And she now has to go home to a mother who's a big Trump fan. Her mother's watching. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said he, and it's a she. I'm sorry. To keep my promise to the great state of Michigan, I terminated Joe Biden's insane electric vehicle mandate, where you were mandated to buy an electric vehicle. You were mandated within just a few years to buy an electric vehicle. How about that? And you know what? They're great, but people don't. Not everybody wants them. You got to be able to buy a hybrid, a gasoline-powered car. You can buy lots of different cars, but you can't be mandated to do anything. And I've already proudly imposed a 25% tariff on all foreign automobiles. Any foreign car, like they do tariffs. This is going to create more jobs in this state and this country, and to help these automakers bring their factories home as rapidly as possible, I've just signed an executive order to give partial tariff rebates to any company that assembles its cars right here in the U.S. In other words, if they can't make it in time because they have to do it here, otherwise they haven't, I'm giving them a little bit of a break, right? They took in parts from all over the world. I don't want that. I want them to make their parts here. But I gave them a little bit of time. It's 15% and then 10% of the parts, so it's not so bad. Somebody would say, oh, well, that's a change in parts. It's not. It's called a little flexibility. The guys were crying. They love it. Everything's good. But just in case we can't get everything in time, we gave them a little bit. So it's 15% of the parts, and then it's 10% of the parts. We give them a little time before we slaughter them if they don't do this. Right? They're going to make so much money. They're going to have so many jobs. No, but jobs are way up. Jobs are way up. We're pleased to be joined tonight by Brian Panebecker. Do you know who that is? Of the auto workers for Trump. And Brian is a union guy, loves the unions, loves everything, but he knew that Trump was right. Brian, come up here, Brian. I got to see Brian. Look at the arms in this guy. Look at the arms. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a great honor to be here on your 100th day in office of your second term. And I just want to remind you of something I told you at one of your last rallies before the election. I've got it on video. I've watched it dozens of times at home. After I was able to speak, I turned to you and I said, Mr. President, Macomb County is going to win Michigan for you. And that's exactly what happened. We had a margin of victory of 70,000 votes in this county alone. Thank you, Macomb County. You know, I met President Trump 8 years ago in Novi, and we had never met before, and as I was stepping towards him backstage to get my picture taken, I knew I only had 10, 15 seconds to say something to him before we got our pictures. Fortunately, my son was standing behind me, so I've got a witness to this. And I said, Mr. Trump, we've got the keys to the White House waiting for you in Macomb County. And he kind of chuckled. He said, oh, yeah, how's that? And I said, well, Macomb County is the home of the Reagan Democrats. If you come to Macomb County and you ask for their support and you get it, you might win Macomb County big enough to carry the whole state of Michigan. And that's exactly what he did. So I want to say thank you to the auto workers, everybody who works in the automotive field, the suppliers, every one of you, the truck drivers. Thank you so much for supporting the greatest president in our lifetimes. Now, I've got a little business announcement I want to make. I hope the president doesn't mind. But when I was backstage with him earlier and got my picture taken, I said, Mr. President, I've got a deal that you can't refuse. And he said, what's that? And I said, well, I'm writing a book, and it's going to be about my political journey. I've been involved in some things here in Michigan, conservative causes like right to work and the Michigan Civil Rights Initiative. And I said, you have a publishing company, Winning Team Publishing. It's run by Don Jr. and his partner. I said, I'll agree to use your publishing company if you agree to write the foreword to my book. He stuck out his hand and said, I'll do it. That's how you negotiate with the best negotiator in the world. So listen, I got one last thing to say. All of us have a job to do. Number one, we have to win the 2026 elections. It has to happen. Sri Thanadar, that lunatic Democrat from Detroit, is already threatening to impeach President Trump if they get the majority back. But luckily, right now, we've got good people in Congress like Congressman John James over here who are stopping that from happening. But listen up. So we got to get out, and we don't have any time to waste. We got to start talking to our friends, our neighbors, our family, our coworkers. The campaign for 2026 starts tomorrow. We've got to win that election. So the work is not over. The work has just begun. November 5th was not the end. It was the beginning of the golden age. And let's all tell President Trump how much we support what he's done the first 100 days in office. Oh yeah, I forgot. There's one other thing I wanted to say in front of all these thousands of people to President Trump. President Trump, I love you.
That's great. Thank you. Good man. He's a great guy. You know, he was with me from day one, 2015. Before 2016, he was there from day one. He got it. He said, we're losing our car industry. That's what he really cared about. He just said, I've had so many friends who were laid off. It's horrible. They lay us off like it's nothing. And the business went to China, it went to Japan, went to all countries all over the world. They're laying us off, sir. And then he said, we can solve that. I told him, we can solve that so fast. He's one of the early people that got it. And we've solved it. We're going to be doing numbers that nobody's ever believed. We'll be the #1 in the world again. Nobody can believe it because we have been beaten up so badly by these countries that have rigged the whole thing. They fight like hell. They're smart. Their product is good, but our product's going to be a lot better. We're going to do something that nobody believes, and he saw it right at the beginning. So I appreciate it, Brian. And he was there at that. I love the guys from the beginning. I love those early guys. Those guys are right there. They were there from the beginning, too. No, you're going to see numbers, and you're already seeing them. Look, you know, we have many Hondas coming in, and they're coming in. We let them build their cars here. We don't want them to build them in Japan. We love Japan. We don't want them building them in Japan. We want them to build them here. We want China to build them in here. We want them all to build them right in here. That's what they've done to us for 40 years, and they've drained us. Now we're doing it to them at a better level than they ever dreamed possible. To further rebuild the industrial bedrock of our country, I've imposed 25% tariffs on foreign aluminum and steel. It's keeping our steel mills going. I did that. If I didn't do that with steel in the my first term, we wouldn't have a steel mill in the United States right now, and everybody knows that. I did it for washing machines, too, by the way. That's why I asked the people at Whirlpool. They were going to close. They were in deep trouble. I did it because they were dumping machines. I did a 50% tariff, was going to raise it to 100%. They didn't even have to bother. They became a tremendously successful company overnight. They were ready to close. They came to me with tears in their eyes in my office early on, first term. And we're doing it now at levels never seen before, and the results are going to be even better, because we've been abused by friend and foe. And in many cases, friend has abused us more so than foe on trade. So I want to just let you know you're going to be very proud of this country very soon. And with my China tariffs, we're ending the greatest job theft in the history of the world. China's taken more jobs from us than any country has ever taken from another country. And that doesn't mean we're not going to get along. We get along with China. I mean, their tariff now is at 145%. So essentially, that's a big difference between that and zero. But I think it's going to work out. They want to make a deal, and we're going to make a deal, but it's going to be a fair deal. It's not going to be a deal that we lose $1 trillion a year like they did with Biden. That guy was so bad. He was so bad. Under Biden, and remember this, we were losing $5 billion a day on trade, and now we're making money. We're actually making money instead of, do you know what 5 billion? Think of it. Mike, how many pillows do you have to make to lose $5 billion? You can make them for 1,000 years. No, we were losing $5 billion a year. Now we've got it where we're making money, and the tariffs haven't even really kicked in. The 25% on cars have. But you know what that means? That means that you're going to make the cars. We don't need the cars from outside. When they say, oh, sir, we want to send you a lot of cars, I said, we really don't want your cars. We really don't want. We want to make our own cars. That includes Canada. That includes Mexico, who have taken a tremendous amount of our business. Canada's taken off a tremendous, like 10, 12%. Mexico is 32%. They took 32% of our car production. We don't want them to have that. We want that. Why are we giving it to them? Why are we subsidizing Canada $200 billion a year? Why are we subsidizing Mexico for $300 billion a year? There's no reason for it. I'm proud to be the president for the workers and not the outsourcers, the president who stands up for Main Street, not Wall Street. You know, I like Wall Street. I like Wall Street. I have a gorgeous, beautiful building on Wall Street, 40 Wall Street. Anybody? You want a little space? I'll get you some space real quickly. Now I've got one of the most beautiful buildings in the world on Wall Street, but I still like Main Street because you're Main Street. I want Main Street over Wall Street. And we want to protect the middle class, not the political class. That's all. I haven't done this very long. We want to protect our people. You know, this is the greatest, when you think about this, look, here we are, it's not even like election, it's after the election. And you have crowds like this, and to have them. We're going to do the commencement at University of Alabama, and they just called and they said, this is going to be the biggest crowd we've ever had we've never had a crowd like this. And I'm doing it at West Point, and they called and said the same thing. We love West Point, we love University of Alabama, we love Alabama. You know what I won Alabama by? Like almost 50 points. So when they called and they said, would you like to do the commencement? I said, okay, I'll do it. But they're going to have the biggest crowd they ever had by maybe 4 or 5 times, they told me. Thanks for all of the things that we've done and to our policies. Trillions of dollars are now pouring into the United States because of common sense, just common sense. Apple, great company, was building everything in China. Now they just announced that they're spending $500 billion to invest in America, not in China. My friend Jensen from NVIDIA, they're spending, you know what NVIDIA is? They're spending $500 billion. TSMC, the biggest chip maker in the world by far from Taiwan, they're spending $200 billion in the United States. Amazon, $21 billion. Johnson & Johnson, $55 billion. The Mac, $20 billion. Merck, Stellantis, General Motors are putting in billions and billions of dollars, and many other companies. And as a result of our policies, for the first time in modern history, more Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. They have a poll, a crazy poll, probably a fake poll too, so I don't know, I don't care. But first time ever, I think ever, that they're saying the country is headed in the right direction. Has never happened before. I don't know why, but we've accomplished more in 3 months than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or even 8 years, and we're just getting started. Believe me, we're just getting started. We're pleased to be joined by some great people. A person that number one, I have so much confidence in him. The fake news is after him, really after him, but he's a tough cookie. They don't know how tough he is, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Pete.
President Trump, at 100 days, we thought it was important to give him all the time that we could as this continues in Warren, Michigan. Tomorrow on Special Report, we'll take you inside the office of the U.S. Trade Representative. We have an interview with the man in charge there, Jameson.
And folks, sorry about the interruption. We wanted to bring you the entirety of the feed, and it is not on. It's not on C-SPAN, and that's why we were picking the feed up from Fox, and are not able to. Oh, it's on C-SPAN 3. It says he was almost finished with the remarks that he was giving there. So we're going to go back and join you live with our regular scheduled programming. We recorded this. You can watch the entirety of it if you wish on our YouTube channel. I'm Mike Church signing off. See you tomorrow here on the radio. God bless you and Mary keep you.